Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
The following audio is via a Skype call.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Hey, everybody. It's so great to be connecting with all of you. Thank you so much for tuning us in and turning us on. It is an incredible day and time to be alive. Thank you for all of that. We've got a fabulous show for you guys today. And right out of the gate, I'm so thrilled to be introducing you to somebody that when I think about what it is we get to do in life, I think about how many times did Spirit tap me on the shoulder? How many times was I actually awake enough to pay attention? And then out of that, how many times did I think about, well, wait a minute, is this a genius idea for me or is it a God shot? Is it something that came, from a divine intervention? And then the question is, why does any of that matter anyway? What is it that we've come to know about our connection to God? What is it that we've come to know about the way that we pray? What is it that we've come to know about this insight that is around us 24/7 that many of us either know about or don't know about? But the question really is, what is it about us that will help us get to the place where we fully understand the power and the potentiality of prayer? Well, Rick Hamlin joining me here today. 10 prayers you can't live without. How to talk to God about everything. And I'm telling you about everything. Because that's
wow,
really
this guy sounds like he knows something.
Yeah. Rick, right? About everything.
Yeah, it is. Hi.
Hi, welcome to the show.
It's just so funny hearing 10 prayers you can't live without. I think, boy, that's a pretty cheeky title. I wonder who he is.
Dang. I'm thinking that myself. When I came across that, I thought, whoa, who's this guy? Welcome to the show, Rick.
Thanks.
Well, I want to ask you about this. And I literally do want to ask you that question. I wanted to talk with you about your own journey. Look, sometimes, and over the past 13 years, pretty much about 6,000 or 7,000 conversations, I got to talk to a lot of people, and they show up amazingly, just like you are right now. But what is it that happened to you along the way? What challenges did you have to move beyond? What obstacles did you have to overcome, Rick, to bring you right here to this very moment?
Well, I remember a moment I was talking to the guy happened to be a minister, didn't have to be a minister, but he said this one thing to me. He said, "Do you know God?" And I thought, I don't know. And I thought, well, I sort of knew God the way you know the parents of your best friend. They sort of say, you say, "Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Smith," and they say, "Oh, just call us, Mildred and Dawn." And, no, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. There was no sort of closeness there. And this guy said, well, then you need to spend time, dedicated time in prayer every day. He said, it might even only be 15 minutes, but it's just got to be dedicated to prayer. And that started me on this prayer journey of setting aside some time to pray every day. The time has changed, the places have changed, but this was about 30 years ago. But that process of making it something I would consciously do, not just in times of emergency, not just, in a worship service or when somebody asks you to pray, but do it because it's on the agenda. Getting to know God, and the only way you can do that is sort of set a time up for it. I was a young married at the time, and it reminded me of the way my wife and we would sort of wander apart if we didn't sort of sit together, usually at dinner, and talk. And that's sort of what prayer is, just sitting in the presence of someone who you discover loves you more than you even know you're lovable.
I know. But, isn't this part of the journey? I'm not sure exactly your background or how you've come to have this conversation. The point is that you've been called to have this conversation. So you've been called to shine, right? And, for me, I'm always fascinated by what that starts to look like and how we each get to say yes to it. Can you remember your first dialogue with God?
Well, of course, as a kid, I remember,
I'm curious.
Those times you have in prayer. But I remember as a kid, I had this moment where I'd read those Bible stories in the way God spoke to Moses or God spoke to Abraham, and I said, "Geez, God, speak to me," And maybe I was about 10, 11 years old, and I was riding my bicycle home from a piano lesson, and I was coming down this hill, and it was a winter late afternoon, and this was Southern California, the sun was on the mountains, and just the way that sun hit the mountains and that feeling of freedom you have at the end of a piano lesson, the end of a hard day, and kind of coasting down the hill, and it was like, oh, God spoke to me right then. It wasn't the burning bush. It wasn't, God's, an angel coming from above. It was just in that moment I thought, yeah, oh, this is it. This is it. And that memory has always been there. So yeah, putting the challenge to God and then discovering when you're riding your bicycle down a hill, He's right here.
Yeah. I mean, isn't it really interesting? I remember a time when I was, oh my gosh, okay, maybe 17. Let's just say it was 17. And I remember I was riding my motorcycle. I grew up in a motorcycle family, right? And so I remember riding my motorcycle, and I remember riding it around like a hairpin turn in Watchung, New Jersey. Watchung. Did you like the way I said that, Rick? Watchung, New Jersey. Get that? Watchung, New Jersey. I remember
exactly
this.
Where God is, yeah.
That's exactly where God was that moment, because I had taken this turn a million, gazillion, trillion times. I mean, it was like my route home. But I had somebody on the back, and they had not taken the turn, nor had they ever been on this road with me when I'm taking the turn. So I'm taking the turn the way a crazy 17-year-old girl from New York takes a turn. Now, that means that your face is almost hitting the ground, right? I mean, why else would you ride a motorcycle?
That's the thrill, right?
That's the thrill. But guess what? She got afraid, and she lifted up. And I knew in that moment, after many years of not talking to God, that God was still with me. Is that what people, I mean, this is really an amazing time to be able to live in this world where we get to talk about this. You and I don't live in a country that if we start to talk about this, somebody's going to come in and, arrest your family and arrest my family or, do crazy things. You and I literally get to have this conversation. Is that amazing?
Well, it's fun to talk about prayer, and yet every time I talk about prayer, or write a book about prayer, I always feel like the real point of this book is I hope that at some point you just stop reading this book and just do it. I mean, it's great to be able to write about prayer, but then here we're talking about prayer, and if you're just sitting there, just do it yourself, because it's the easiest thing on earth. People get so intimidated. Oh my gosh, I've got to come up with the right things to say. Why would you edit yourself when you're talking to God, who knows what's going on in your head anyway?
So I want to ask you about prayer.
Okay.
I grew up with a certain kind of prayer, and I've since had the opportunity to kind of change that up a bit. If you're me and you're growing up in New York, you have one thing going on right there in the Bronx, and that is you're growing up as Catholic pretty much. But then your dad gets remarried, and your dad then marries somebody from the South. And now you get a different point of view about religion. And then you become me, and you become homeless at 17. And literally the only way to get off the streets, or perhaps even get some clothes, is to dress up white, stand on a corner, and hit a tambourine. And so I want to ask you, how many faces are there to God that people pray to? Is there just one? And the reason I like to ask this question is because we're living in a world now, and I happen to live in a state that is considered a city that's considered the least religious city on the planet and the most spiritual. I came from the most religious city on the planet. And I just want to ask you, what are you discovering along the way in where people are today with their prayer, their practice, and their point of view about God?
Openness is so important, and being sort of open to the big spiritual experience. I wrote a book called 10 Prayers you can't live without, and yet it sounds, are there only 10? Goodness, no. I think each of us has our own prayer life that's probably unique to each of us. It's sort of like when I have you hear my voice, you hear the timbre in it, and somebody who hasn't spoken to me, somebody who hears my son says, "Oh my gosh, you guys sound so much alike, and yet you're still different." So the individuality, and I think in prayer life, I think we find our own individuality. We find our own individual ways of expression, which means there's a mirror back, which is also hearing our individuality. Of course, Jesus gave us the Lord's Prayer. What wonderful words those are. But each one of us, we have so much different needs, and we have, so many gifts, our own gifts. And to discover those in the presence of the divine is a huge opportunity.
I love it. And so much of this, I love what you've written in here. So much of this, Rick, is bringing the essence of prayer to our contemporary arena. And I think that is so important. So important for some of us. Someone asked me the other day, and I'll say this, we'll go to break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about what the 10 prayers are, 10 prayers you can't live without. And someone said to me the other day, my gosh, I've never seen so many apps on a phone that you click on every morning at this meeting. You're clicking on these apps. And I realized to myself, what am I clicking on? Well, now in the world we live in, we can click on apps that bring us messages to improve. And this is me now. Improve my connection with God, improve my connection with Spirit, improve my connection. Why is that? Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We'll be talking about it.
Almost everyone at some time in their lives ask themselves, what am I? Most of our questions are ego-generated and simply don't address the problem of our false self. It's time to relax your ego and embody your soul. Dr. Dan Cohen, neurologist, inventor, and author, has created tools to awaken, a new way to transform from who you thought you were into what you truly are. Visit toolstoawaken.com today.
Get ready to experience Truth Talk Radio with host Deb Acker. Tune in to Truth Talk Radio each Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com to illuminate the truth in your daily life as you experience life, love, and abundance from a whole new perspective. This hit show will leave you feeling lighter and bring you into a place of infinite possibilities every day in every way. Visit TruthTalkRadioshow.com for upcoming transformative topics and guests.
Awaken to your radiant, authentic self. For over 15 years, Soul Purpose Advocate Nancy Monson has been focused on leading change in the lives of those looking to live their true purpose. She is devoted to supporting people in living a soul-directed life every day. Let Nancy help you overcome fear, worry, and doubt. Visit everydayspirituality.com to learn how Nancy can be your soul purpose advocate.
Holistic Medical Center is where you find it all. A healthy space with doctors who care, see, and listen to the whole you. Hi, this is Dr. Darvish. If you have not found an answer to your chronic symptoms, you will find answers here at Holistic Medical Center. Our doctors find the root cause of your symptoms and guide your body towards healing naturally. We transform lives from within. Visit drdarvish.com or call 425-451-0404.
Naturopathic doctor, founder of the Martha's Vineyard Holistic Retreat, and author of the New York Times bestseller 21 Pounds in 21 Days, Dr. Ronnie DeLuce has helped tens of thousands of people, including celebrities and athletes, with her message of lifestyle change. Now Dr. Ronnie DeLuce wants to help you. You too can be saved. Email Dr. Ronnie DeLuce at info@ronniedeluceonradio.com and visit mvholisticretreat.com. Dr. Ronnie DeLuce, your partner in wellness.
Chris Stanis is a spiritual leader and healer and teaches a course on how you can transform your life through a meditation and healing system that will manifest your spirit's dreams. She manifested the Women of Wisdom Conference, the Women of Wisdom book, and this radio show. And she can show you how to change your life too. Are you ready? Visit the website and contact her at voicesofwomentoday.com. That's voicesofwomentoday.com.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for that, Benny. And you know, I love that song, but also Benny and I got to interview Olivia Newton-John when she put out her CD, Grace and Gratitude. And boy, by the way, she will be coming back. She's got some new work for us. But today, I love this book. You know, the minute that I saw that someone had actually written a book like this, I thought to myself, I said to Linda, you got to find out, okay, who is this? How do we get to interview him? Is this somebody that came through Aaron? Who is this Rick guy? And then I get the book, 10 Prayers You Can't Live Without, How to Talk to God About Everything. And, you know, Rick, I want to say this, and we're going to take a journey now on what the prayers are. But here's the thing I do want to talk with you about, and I wish you would share a bit about your own journey around this. It's this last part, how to talk to God about everything. Now, I grew up in a religious experience I was just sharing with you, and talking with God about everything was actually not something that was known or worldwide at the time. Can you please talk about how you've seen this change in the world and why this is not only something that is important to do, but it is absolutely crucial to do? And that's why I love today's show. So for those of you that are tuning in, you know, here's the title of today's show, The Imperfect Practice of Prayer, you know, with my very special guest joining me here today, Rick Hamlin. You know, what does that mean? You know, the imperfect practice of prayer. I love this because, you know, when I thought we were going to talk about this, and yes, of course, I'm referencing the book, but, you know, part of this is really opening up a door for people that may have discovered along the way that, wait a minute, the imperfect practice of prayer, I was never allowed, Rick, to be imperfect with that. And I shared with you during the break what my journey was about. Mm-hmm. It was pure imperfection. But yet along the way, you know, this is not some sort of edict that comes from above to say, wow, this is how you should pray. This is where you should pray. This is how many times you should pray, albeit there are some spiritual practice that have that. What is it that you've discovered about this imperfect practice of prayer? And is it widely accepted in the people that you've been talking with?
Don't you love that phrase, practicing prayer? I mean, we do use that phrase. We say practicing prayer. Yeah. You know, it's not performance. It's not, ta-da! I've got to perform my prayer. No, we're really imperfect. Now, I want to be careful. The word that comes to mind right now is sin, and I want to be very careful about that word because it's a very loaded word for some people, and it takes them away from God. And I'm sorry that it does. But so if there is imperfection in us, and when we accept that and use that in a prayer life, it's each time I pray, I feel like I'm renewing myself. I'm becoming new again. The old term repentance means like turning back, but that can be a powerful positive word for some people. For other people, might not. But to put yourself, the Jesus prayer is a wonderful prayer. It comes from the Orthodox prayer tradition. Jesus Christ, have mercy on me. Jesus Christ, have mercy on me. Some people say, Jesus Christ, have mercy on me, a sinner. If that works for you, use the sinner part. If it doesn't, but just the Jesus Christ, that's that little phrase that you can hold in your head to just stay connected. Have mercy on me. What a powerful word. Mercy means acknowledging my failings, and once I do, I'm there. I mean, Jesus was working with the people who had the most failings. Those are the people he was there for. Those are the people God wants. God wants the ungodly, not the perfect ones. The perfect ones, they're probably doing just fine by themselves. I'm not sure they are. But it's us, Pat, who are imperfect, that just are waiting to be loved by God.
This is really, for me, in reading your book, but also listening to some of the other things that you've said, this is really the message I think that so many people are hearing right now. There is a message that says, I'm really okay. I'm okay in my imperfection of my understanding. And no, I did not. That comment about imperfect had nothing really to do with sin, although there's a lot of dialogue about sin. And I remember a long time ago, a very dear rabbi friend of mine said, there's the original Hebrew word for sin. And do you know what it means? Now, really, is there any other word but what I've learned about it? And he went on to say that it means to miss. And I thought, okay, now you've got my attention. What does that mean, to miss? This means, to miss means not to be there, doing something without being present there. And they go on to say, of course, if you do something without being present there, that's what the word has meant. But today you and I get to talk about these prayers, but we also get to talk about how to go about prayer. And isn't that really now part of your conversation, part of what you're talking about? So would you talk for a minute about the idea of, wait a minute, do I have to wait for Sunday to pray? Do I have to wait to be at this place to pray? How do you do this in your life? And what have you discovered, Rick?
One of the weird little things, and this is, I love asking people, where do you pray? We often say, how do you pray? But often, where? Because I think it's very helpful to have one place that you can go to every day that has a physical surroundings. It could be a chair, a desk chair. It could be a sofa. You could be sitting on the floor on a pillow. In my case, it's sitting on the subway train. It's one place. It's in cars. The answer I get most often to that, where do you pray? People say, I pray in my car when I'm driving to work, or I pray in my car. And I think, wow, that's so great. If you have a regular place that you go to pray, and this is just one place, the external stimulus there helps you connect to the internal stuff that's going on. So there are certain habits that are useful, and sitting on the sofa first thing in the morning, just a little time. Now, that's the practicing moment. The rest of the day, you're going to be able to do it while you're working, while you're driving, while you're shopping. You'll have these prayer moments. But I love having just one time dedicated. 5 minutes. is really wonderful, of just closing out and opening up your spirit and listening for God.
Oh, I love it. Rick, one of the things that I'm so eager to talk with you about, we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about, who are the people that have shown up in our lives? Who are some of the folks that, we would say are our mentors? Who are some of the folks that have brought, our teachings forward? And then Rick's going to share some of the prayers that he has come to know, whether they're in his book or they have emerged after his book. And he and I have something very, very cool to talk about. And we did it during the break. What is our earliest memory of prayer? Is it the Lord's Prayer? Stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back.
Are you and your family looking for one manageable lifestyle change that will positively impact your health? Look no further. That change begins inside your drinking glass. Learn how to put a lid on junk drinking by sipping from a recipe collection of colorful, fresh, tasty, wholesome fruit and vegetable blends. Get your copy now of Sip the Garden. Fun, easy drinks for a healthier family by T. Carey Mitchell. Visit lifestyle120.com for information on how to order.
Transformation Talk Radio is dedicated to the education and awareness of Lyme disease.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Lyme Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Pat, joined here by
Dr. Nusheen Darvish.
Dr. Pat Basili and Dr. Nusheen Darvish will be bringing the most innovative, groundbreaking information, research, treatment innovations, and stories from those it affects every day.
I'm so excited to be talking about this.
We have so much to share.
Dr. Darvish and I are planning to do is connect the dots.
People suffering with all sorts of chronic diseases, it's time. It is time for them to transform.
Tune into Lyme Talk Radio and help keep our mission strong.
For the loyal listeners out there that have been listening to this incredible show on Lyme disease, we are not going to let you down. We're going to come through stronger and enrich the platform for Lyme disease awareness through Lyme Talk Radio. The message will continue, the conversations will become stronger, and the healing epic.
Access Consciousness is coming back to Seattle this April for 3 amazing events. Mark your calendars. April 20th through the 22nd is the Access Consciousness Body Classes, created by Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane here, facilitated by Dr. Glenna Rice. Explore verbal processes and hands-on bodywork that will unlock the tension, resistance, and dis-ease of the body by shifting energy dynamically. April 23rd through the 25th is the Advanced Access Body Class with Gary Douglas. What if you could undo a whole lot of limitations that you have locked into your body and create an alteration of the way your body functions? Then, on April 26th at 7 p.m., join Gary Douglas for the Abuse Hold class. This is the first time ever that this dynamic process is being presented in a class format. Find out more about these Access Consciousness April events in Seattle by visiting transformation.events. That's transformation.events.
Tune in to Sheer Alchemy with Leslie Fontaine on TransformationTalkRadio.com and get ready to stir up your passions, identify your blocks, and shift into an entirely new existence. Leslie Fontaine is a transformation catalyst and clairvoyant who uses her intuitive and energetic gifts to catapult listeners into living the life they were born to live. Whether it's shifting from scarcity to abundance, from emotional pain into joy, or from illness into health, Leslie will help you step into the true essence and power of all that you are with the help of the Ascended Masters and Archangels. You will not be the same. Visit TransformationTalkRadio.com for show dates and times and LeslieFontaine.com to say yes to explosive abundance.
Hey, everyone, welcome back. There's so much that, Rick and I could possibly talk about here, but, just so you know, there's much more to find out about this message, and certainly we're going to talk about some of the prayers in the book. But the best way, I think, to find out more about you, Rick, what's the best website to send people to, and how do they find out more about you, and how do they get a copy of the book?
The book you can certainly get in bookstores, Amazon. As for me, rickhamlin.com, I'm reachable there, and you can feel free. People can email me directly. I work for Guidepost Magazine, so you can email me at Guidepost. So it's Rick Hamlin or rhamlin at guideposts.org. rhamlin at guideposts.org. If you've got a personal question, and sure, I like getting email.
Super. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of things that I think are highly relevant to the world we live in today. And I alluded to one of them, and that was the fact that, we walking around in the digital world, we have smartphones and we have other things now. People at any given point in time have access to tools to help us. And yet at the same time, we're finding that folks are being willing to take the journey. That is the title of today's show, The Imperfect Practice of Prayer. Meaning, is it okay, Rick, for me to pray when I'm angry? Is it okay for me to have somebody that I work with, for example, to help me with understanding the power of prayer? And does it have to be, my minister, my priest? And so I'm asking you these questions because I would love for you to share where we are today in this particular narrative around prayer. Is it different than where we were? Clearly different than when I grew up. But is this different? Are you seeing things shift on this? And I would love for you to share your experience around this.
That's such a good question about, angry. Should I pray when I'm angry? And really, you should really just look at the Psalms, because a lot of the Psalms are coming from people who are really hurting and really angry. We like to think sort of the sweet Psalms, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. But sometimes the language is vitriolic. Somebody who really helped me to understand this, he said, he described a situation. He said, if I'm angry with my friend wants to know. I shouldn't be holding it all inside, but I need to tell my friend why I'm angry. And the same thing would go for God. If you're angry at God, God wants to know. Dump it in his plate, her plate. Just get rid of it. Let go of the anger, but express it. So can we pray when we're angry? Of course we can pray when we're angry. We should, in fact. That's probably one of the best times to pray when we're angry. I remember one woman I interviewed, she said she was so angry she couldn't even say the Lord's Prayer. She said she just, every time she would come to, she was just, forgive us our forgive us. She couldn't do it. And just by sort of repeating those words, she finally was able to get, her anger down. But yeah, we have to be, being open in prayer means acknowledging all those different feelings. We're not always going to be happy. There are times when we're really angry and what a gift to be able to express that.
It is a gift. And I want to ask you about gifts. What is the gift of prayer?
What is the gift of prayer? The gift of prayer is something that everybody can do. That it's something that you cannot fail at doing it. Trying to do it is to do it. Someone once asked me, do you have to believe in God to pray? I said, no, you just pray. I believe in God, but just open yourself up. There is an experience of just to try to pray is to pray. You cannot fail at it. It's not like, I have to get better at this and then I'll be praying. No, just open your heart. Whatever comes out is good.
I want to ask you, do you have a favorite? Someone asked me that a couple of weeks ago. Somebody asked me that, Rick, a couple of weeks ago when I was on another show, and I was talking about, the book I'm writing and the platform that I'm out talking about, which is about street smart spirituality, because it's the way I grew up. It's kind of monkey bar. If you're on the monkey bar prayers, what do you pray for at the top of the monkey bar when you slip? So.
Street smart spirituality.
So I wanted to ask you, that question about it. Do you have a favorite prayer, or do you change?
It's sort of different times. We talked a little bit about the zapping prayers. We talked about the Jesus prayer, the Jesus prayer. Gratitude is a prayer. Just bring, there was a time I had surgery, and I was just really struggling in recovery, and I couldn't pray. Here's this guy, expert on prayer. I couldn't pray. And you know what I discovered is to writing down who I was thankful to. In fact, writing thank you notes turned out to be a way of praying. Because it put me back in touch with gratitude. So sometimes one of those times when you're really in despair, to start putting down things you are grateful for, even numbering them, counting them off. Deborah Norville called it, thank you power. She said she would just write a list of the things you're thankful for. And once when I was really depressed, I just did that. And you'd be surprised how many things you can be thankful for when you don't think you have anything to be thankful for. So that's a form of prayer. Thanks is a form of prayer. And boy, it's one I need a lot.
Well, and, part of this is really looking at, how we use prayer. Are there various ways we use prayer? I know that clearly I gave an example of the motorcycle experience, but, I don't remember being consciously aware of a prayer. I remember being consciously aware of how grateful for an intervention, and I gave it, a very short period of time for that. But there are prayers that we have. Is it okay to pray when we're angry? Because I think we have a stigma about, wait a minute. I'm angry. And what happens when we get to the point of angry where we become angry with God? I know when my mom passed away, I wasn't jumping up and down. I didn't quite understand it. And so, we have these rules. And I wanted to ask you, because we're talking about, an imperfect practice, how do the rules help us? And are they rules that are man-made, or are there some, let's just call them guidelines?
Yeah, guidelines is a nice way to put it. Because rules sounds like, if I don't do it that way, then I'm in trouble. Guidelines are those. The Bible is full of guidelines. We have the 10 Commandments. I love that old line. They weren't called the 10 Suggestions, but what we really have is what we have. Guidelines is we have people, and I think the model that people are. I mean, the model of who Jesus is. We see situations. We hear narratives, and those are the things that sort of warm our hearts. You meet somebody in your life, and they'll tell you a story, and it kind of warms you up. Talking about prayer, singing is a form of prayer, and it might not be a holy song. It might be just something that you love singing. It opens you up. It gives you a moment of praise. It gives you a moment of feeling love. It could also be a time when you express anger. You can sing. That sort of opening up is a way of praying.
Yeah. And, I love what we're talking about here, because we are talking about practice. We are talking about the things that, get us closer and closer and closer, and not have us live separate. I know there have been points in time in my life where I felt completely alone, totally alone in my life. And, certainly understand what any or all of that means. I mean, I was homeless at 17, and I'll tell you, there were a bunch of prayers that I had around that. And, for me, they worked, because I didn't have to stay homeless a whole long period of time. But sometimes, aren't there prayers that we can have that simply praise? And, praise, whether you believe in God or whatever the God of your understanding is, whatever that is, there is praise. I want to take a short break, and we come back. What are the prayers of praise? Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back with the show.
Can you keep your lifestyle in retirement? It's a question people often wonder about. Ask Ameriprise financial advisor Jeff Packman about the new Confident Retirement approach. You and Jeff can break down retirement planning step by step to get the real answers you need. Call Jeff Packman, Financial Advisor, today at 425-453-0272. Office is located at 601 108th Avenue Northeast, Suite 1800, Bellevue, Washington, 98004. The Confident Retirement Approach is not a guarantee of future financial results. Investment and advisory products and services are made available through Ameriprise Financial Services Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Ameriprise Financial Services Incorporated, member FINRA and SIPC.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. Pat. Many of you have heard me talk about the Lyme disease epidemic going on right now in the world. I want to tell you about my friends at Results RNA. They have now created an entire Lyme support system for immune system support, detoxification, rejuvenation, and neurological healing. Please visit resultsrna.com to learn more, and for first-time orders, you'll receive a special 10% discount. All you have to do is type in Dr. Pat at checkout.
Sky Siegel co-hosts one of today's most popular psychic shows, Angels and Answers, with Artie Hoffman, as she communicates healing messages from the spirit world. These messages can be astounding, enlightening, and life-changing. Born with the God-given talent of inner guidance and the amazing ability to heal, Sky has healed thousands of people. Schedule a reading with Sky now. Call 908-500-1474 and visit skyofangels.com.
Hi, I'm Tim Darter.
And I'm Steve Kramer.
Join us on Spirit Fire Radio. Discover how to add the mechanics of meditation to your day.
And watch yourself connect in a whole new way. Find the amazing moments in life's routines that often pass us by. Add to your awareness with Spirit Fire Radio.
Tune in each Wednesday at 9 a.m. for your weekly guide to practical mindfulness. And to learn more, visit www.spiritfireradio.com.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. Pat. Have you ever tried maca? Well, maca is a root vegetable that grows at altitudes above 13,000 feet in the Andes Mountains. As a family-run company of true maca specialists, the maca team's mission is to provide you with fresh, organic, premium quality maca products at a fair price. And they are delicious. One of the most common questions they get is from men and women who want to know more about using maca for fertility. Maca works on the endocrine system to balance hormones in both men and women. Scientific studies have found that using black maca boosts sperm count in men, and women given maca respond with increased regularity in cycles and easier ovulation. Wow. To learn more and read stories from couples who have reported success with maca, visit themacateam.com and check out the black maca. That's themacateam.com. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to the show. It is so great to have you here. The Imperfect Practice of Prayer with Rick Hamlin. And for those of you that heard me talk about the book before, 10 Prayers You Can't Live Without, how to talk to God about everything. You know, and there are some things that, you know, we're going to talk about now that many of us perhaps have felt is a bit taboo. You know, what is it about prayer that Rick invites us to explore in this book? And he has got some of the greatest prayers, but also there's some just incredible stories in the book as well. And, you know, when I'm thinking about what this means and how our life, you know, kind of goes to through the long and winding road, a number of things come up, Rick. And one of them is, you know, how we've kind of been groomed to think there is a certain prayer, a certain time, and we have to really want something. But before the break, I talked about praise. Sometimes we can pray and not want anything. You know, sometimes, you know, we pray and praise. And I would love for you to talk about that for a little bit, because, you know, some of this has to do with a faith journey.
It's funny, you know, that sometimes people get confused, and it's like, well, is God's ego so fragile that he needs us to praise him all the time? You know, why are we supposed to praise God? And it's not about God, it's about us. Think about this with your spouse. You know, why do you praise your spouse? It's for your relationship. It's, you know, it's so that you start seeing those wonderful things that are praiseworthy in your spouse. It's to live sort of a loving kind of relationship. So praise is not for God. Praise is for us. Praise feels good. Praise makes us happy. Praise puts us in touch with sort of a God-rootedness in us. And it's sort of when you start thinking praise, then you start looking for what's praiseworthy. The beautiful day, the gifts I've been given, and it puts God back into the conversation in that way.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you a number of different things. You're the executive editor, Guideposts magazine.
Yeah, that sounds pretty impressive. Who's he? The executive editor.
No,
Wow.
I already knew you were hot stuff. Anybody that writes a book that says prayer in it, I already knew. And then, not to mention, you're using the God word. But that had to take something, because I wanted to ask, this is the question I want to ask you, is it took me a lot of years to even speak openly about God, spirit, whatever that is. And I wanted to ask you, did it come naturally for you?
No, sometimes you'll sort of meet somebody and then I'll say, I'm the executive editor of Guidepost, and they say, what's Guidepost? And I say it's a magazine of inspirational stories, and then you can see their eyes are getting nervous, and they're looking and they go, uh-oh, this guy is going to corner me. He's going to start, reading Bible verses at me. And then you think, no, I'm not going to. You can see their fear and projecting things on you, and you go, I want you to know that what I care about is prayer, and what that means is just sharing the love of God in people's lives. I mean, Guidepost Magazine, what we do is we tell stories about people whose faith has made a difference in their lives. And, there's so much out there that's really negative, and that so much out there that tells you need to be richer, you need to be famous, you need to be skinnier to ever count in your life. Well, isn't it nice to have the opportunity to be somebody out there who's saying, you know what? A little faith in your life will just liven your life up so much.
Yeah. How does prayer change our lives?
How does it change our lives?
I know. I love this question.
How does prayer
I want to hear
change?
it from your point of view, though.
How does a prayer change our lives? It's like a lubrication job on your car. It's making things go easier. I mean, think of something like forgiveness. Forgiveness is essential so that you don't let your anger, paralyze you, your unforgiveness paralyze you. Well, how do we forgive? We can't do it on our own. You need help doing it. I've had moments where I really couldn't forgive somebody. And how can I do that? I can only do it with God's help. So why limit myself by holding on to a grudge? Why not find a way to let it go? And I can only do that with God's help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I wanted to ask you this last question. And thank you so much for your time. Please let folks know the website again, if you don't mind.
Yep. You can find me at guidepost.org, Guidepost, GUIDEPOSTS.org, and also rickhamlin.com too.
Wow. Someone said to me, actually, someone I listen to quite often, talked about the idea of living a big life. And certainly I've had, mixed messages along the way as to what that should be or how it should be. But one of the things that I'm getting to understand more and more every day is that this is a completely abundant universe. And I wanted to ask you about the message for today, the message for the book, and what you might say or what prayer you might share to empower people to take that next step so that they too can live an amazing life.
A friend I was just talking with the other day, and I was talking about some anxiety I had, and he said to me, this lovely thing. He said, just wake up with a smile. Well, prayer is a smile that you put on your face and put on your life. So wake up with a smile, which is a way of opening up to the goodness of God in your heart.
I love that. Thank you so much for today. Thank you so much for doing what you do. It's really been wonderful to have you on the show. And, you know, for those of you out there, the book is called 10 Prayers You Can't Live Without, How to Talk to God About Everything. And again, you can find out more about Rick. Let's take a short break, everyone. We'll be right back with the Dr. Pat Show. You're listening to us right here on TransformationTalkRadio.com, or you're probably listening on the drpatshow.com, or you're probably listening on any of our affiliate stations that you're listening on, or any other place you might have downloaded this show, whether it be live or later. Short break, everyone. We'll be right back with the show.
Preceding audio was via a Skype call.